just more growth for the sake of growth isn't going to solve this. That's very similar to someone saying, I just need a fix, right? It's kind of like the junkie thing. I just need a kilo to get through the weekend kind of thing. Like that's just having growth for the sake of growth isn't going to solve this. Keep in mind that the U.S. is regressing to the mean. It's not actually in what would be called, decline, right? Because you can't have everybody having 7 or 8 kids every single time. Just mathematically, that's just not possible. And it's not practical any longer. You don't really need to have that many children. There's, of course, Americans want to have more kids, sure. But most of us aren't going to have 7 or 8 or 9 kids. We're going to have like 2 or 3 maybe. Well, and that's okay, right? 2.1 is replacement, right? That's the math, okay? 2.1 is considered replacement. The U.S. birth rates are, I think last time I looked was 1.64. It'll probably be down to 1.4 next time the demographers actually do that study. So that's a decline, but it's a decline off of an artificial high. Keep in mind, the reason the baby boomers are called the baby boomers is because that was a significant increase in the population in a very short period of time. Okay, so what you're seeing is, and I've covered this a long time ago, but I realize new followers don't go back and watch the old stuff. But yeah, it's a regression to the mean. And so just having more growth for the sake of growth, it's sort of like, think of it this way, it's sort of like saying we need to have more voltage. We need a gazillion, we need 1.21 gigawatts of voltage, for whatever, but with no amperage, right? Okay, you can have all the voltage in the world, but if you have no amperage, you have no way to really do anything. So that's the problem with this, is that just growth for the sake of growth, that's all bankers want. Bankers, brokers, boomers, stock market gamblers, that's the kind of shit that they want. They would just want growth for the sake of growth. People who bought houses at the peak of the market, they paid $400,000 for a 322 shit box, and now they need to have growth so that way they don't go underwater on their house. That's all this is. So this is when you're talking about okay, let's just import a bunch of people. Okay, well, to what end? Well, we need to have their labor. There's a labor shortage. No, I've been over this repeatedly. There is no such thing as a labor shortage. It doesn't exist. It can't exist. Because if you're going to concede that there's a labor shortage, then that means that you're conceding that price gouging exists. Now, if price gouging doesn't exist, then that means that labor shortages can't exist. Okay? It means that wages need to come up organically to get people interested in doing those jobs, right? So if Tyson, for example, can't find chicken pluckers paying $15 an hour, they need to raise that number up enough until finally someone says, okay, I'm interested. And keep in mind, the more competent somebody is, I don't know how many different times I have to say this, but the more competent somebody is, the more money they're going to command. That's common fucking sense. Okay, so that means but I need to find the most competent people. Okay, then what you need to do is you need to entice people away from other professions. Okay, remember, people don't work. Men don't work just because they're bored, right? Some of us do, but they work for a reason. They work for a goal, right? And the goal is money. Okay, and the reason they work for the money is because of what the money will buy. When the money doesn't buy anything, they stop working. Okay, they work for a reason. They work for that which the money will buy, and because the money is becoming devalued, right? The dollar is a worthless, garbage, bullshit currency. So because of that, you need to keep raising the amount of dollars you're offering. Well, companies can't do that. That's the answer I hear all the time. That's the clapback. It's a weak argument. It's like, I don't care if companies can afford it. If they can't afford it, then that means those companies go out of business. It means they have a failed business model. I don't care if you're a big company or a small company. The thing is that the large companies, what they can do is use a lot of political pull to stay in business. They should be going out of business. Most of these large companies should be dying. Almost every one of the Fortune 500 companies should be dying. Almost all of their CEOs should be probably being sued at this point. collectively by shareholders, because everything should be going right into the drink. And the reason that is because big companies actually can't compete with small companies. This is not a well understood thing, even by the loser-tardians and the so-called business experts out there. Business experts who've never actually owned businesses, which is, I've always found that hilarious to me whenever I watch these fucking idiots on CNBC. But like, dude, small businesses compete the shit out of big businesses. Why do you think big companies need them gone? Big companies always need small businesses gone. Big anything needs small stuff gone. It can't, because you can't control small stuff. Small stuff is, this is, how do I want to say this? I want to explain it this way. During the so-called Great Leap Forward, okay, small businesses in China, this is just reality, okay? And this also happened, of course, in the Soviet Union, or prior to the Soviet Union. This is back during the Bolshevist Revolution. But if you want to call it a revolution, but it was a heist. And the same thing with Maoist China. It was just a heist. That's all it was. They have no way to pay all this stuff, so they print money. And then the businesses, the actual businesses, the small businesses, start seeing their costs go up at the wholesale side, and they start saying, hold on, I have to raise my prices now. It's not them gouging. It's that their costs on the wholesale side for all the materials have gone up. And the reason they went up is because there's too much money, too many dollars in the U.S., or I don't know what they called them back then, but whatever their currency was of the day, was chasing too few goods and services, too few goods. So you didn't create more stuff, you just created more money. And that creates what's called monetary inflation. So what's always a popular solution, and it's happening right now, they're attempting to do it again, is blame the little businesses. Oh, it's them, they're gouging you. This is the fault of ism, whatever ism you want to throw in there. No, that's not it. It's that they printed money and they've distorted the economy. This is why you don't want to do that. This is why you don't want to have you want to have a currency that you can't do that with. So, as I mentioned, I've been talking about the last few days now. The example that I give was that in the 1700s, in the late 1700s, early 1800s, the founders said only use gold coin specifically, meaning physical, because then you couldn't counterfeit it, because of course it either weighs or it doesn't. It's either pure or it's not. You either have it or you don't. It's that simple. Okay. Now we have better technology now, but at the time that was and that was a very sound idea and very good advice, frankly, because it keeps distortions like this from happening. But as soon as you start hypothecating, you create distortions like this. And then everybody starts arguing back and forth, whose fault is it, whose fault is it? When it's like, dude, it's the same people that it's always been. It's the same people. Every time, it's the same people. I don't know how many different ways I have to say this. It's the same goddamn people. Every time. The ones who control the issuance of the money supply. Same people, every single time. Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws. I will let you look up who said that, because I can't say it on the internet, apparently. So, that's a direct quote, by the way. Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws. So, that's the problem here. No, we don't need more growth. The U.S. doesn't just need more growth for the sake of growth. It needs a correction, okay? It needs to correct. It needs to come back down to reality. And part of that reality is coming back and saying, okay, well, we need to let the stock market collapse. We need to let real estate collapse. Let all this stuff drop. And then your average Americans can actually pick up a lot of those pieces. Your small businesses can pick up all those pieces, and what they will do is that actually will increase all of your wages. That will increase your overall lifestyles. All that stuff works out just like that. So, see you next time.